Welcome. This is Real People, Real Matters. I am Diana Tulchinsky. My first guest, I'm interviewing Maureen Zwier, a digital artist.
Hi.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Maureen, please tell me about your earlier life in Palos Hills and how did you like the high school? Was it competitive?
In high school, I was very shy and introverted, so I was not really comfortable in my own skin. So I kind of wanted to get out of there as soon as possible. So I went to summer school as much as I could so I could graduate early.
When did you move to Wilmette afterward?
I turned 18 in May and I moved to Wilmette in June, so right after graduation.
Was there a culture class coming from the south suburbs to the north and suburbs and the trendy area of Wilmette?
That's one thing about Chicago is every area, every suburb has like a different flair to it. So there definitely was a difference going from the southwest suburbs up to Wilmette. But it didn't bother me at all, and I don't think I had too much of a difficult time with it.
How did you like being single and on your own, especially going to college in the north and in Rogers Park?
It was a lot of fun. I enjoyed that time of my life. It was a struggle financially just to work full-time and go to school full-time, but it was really a fun time as well. Met a lot of new people and had a lot of new experiences.
Where were your first internships in Rogers Park or in the city? Like hospitals and...
Well, when I moved up to Wilmette, I got a job at Evanston Hospital in the microbiology lab. That's what kind of got me going into the laboratory sciences. I had planned on being a nurse all through grade school and high school. And then when I moved up to Wilmette, I got a job at the hospital as a lab assistant in the microbiology lab and just fell in love with microbiology. So
how many years were you like in that field after graduation in microbiology or even in the sciences?
About 18 years.
18 years, wow. Did you work in Abbott? And
I started out in the working at Evanston, and then I graduated, and my first job out of college was at a hospital in Chicago Heights in the southwest area, and worked there for a couple of years, then went to University of Chicago and worked in infection control there. And then, where did I go after that? I was there for a while. And then Will County Health Department in Joliet. I was there for a number of years, ran the laboratory there. And then I went to Abbott, worked there. And then got married, left Abbott, and worked at Brookfield Zoo for a little while in their animal hospital, that was just an incredible job. Really a lot of fun.
Why did you go into photography after so many years of microbiology and being behind a microscope?
After I got married, I was fortunate enough to kind of pursue some other interests, and so I decided I was always interested in photography, so I picked up a camera and started shooting, and just working in a laboratory and constantly looking through a microscope kind of helped me focus and look through a camera and maybe see things a little bit differently. So I had a really good time and decided to take some classes at College of DuPage, pursue that.
Did you have any family support, or who started, your husband or son started this pursuit in College of DuPage?
They were very supportive. Both of them were. My husband had seen me work and kind of struggle and work for many, many years. I was a single parent for many, many years. And then after I got married, we moved far enough away that I had to leave Abbott because the commute was too far. And, I was fortunate enough not to have to work, so I just kind of took some time, and both of them were very supportive.
Did you experience any health problems, like working at Abbott, like any pain or pain management, those hours and that commute?
I had some minor health issues at the time, but the hours at Abbott, because we were in the production side of things, we worked some long hours and some unusual hours, but we all kind of worked together and worked as a team, and that really helped for us to get things done. Everybody pulled their own weight and understood what we all had to do when we worked together and got everything done, and so it was really positive experience.
How did macrobiology, behind the lens, the microscope, help you with this creative mandalas, the photography behind it?
being a microbiologist, it's a lot of looking through a microscope or looking at a petri dish and trying to find some maybe small colonies of organisms. So that really helped me to narrow my focus and look for very small things that maybe you wouldn't normally necessarily see in day-to-day life. So that really helped me when I started focusing on the camera. And then the macro photography is the photography of looking at very small things. And being in microbiology and looking through the microscope and looking for small microorganisms, bacteria and stuff, really helped me when I decided to go into macro photography, because then you maybe would be able to capture things and share images with people that of small things in nature that, or different colors and shapes and stuff that maybe people don't necessarily notice in their day-to-day life. So the thought of being able to photograph that and share it with people was really exciting to me.
How did you like the college page? Did you just get a photography certificate or an
Associate's degree in photography technology. The instructors there were great. My fellow students were great. That was really fun to do that. It's very creative and no pressure. You just kind of do what you want to do and see if you can develop your art and your talent. It's a lot of fun.
Maureen, please tell me the meaning of mandala to you and like the spirit and the faith behind that.
Mandala, it's a Sanskrit word that means circle in essence. So what I try to do when I create my mandalas is obviously make the circular pattern that is significant to a mandala, but I also like to capture the essence of the original image. I take a photograph and I do a lot of digital manipulation to it, usually about 6 to 10 hours, but I don't change anything from the photograph. I keep all the original colors and I try and create the essence of the original image so that that is still there, but what you're seeing is maybe an abstract view of the original image.
Please tell me like the instructions of how you made this piece, like the reds and the greens, and is it just layers in Photoshop, or how would I design that?
It is just layers. For 2016, I wanted to have a theme and kind of explore some nature images as far as caterpillars and butterflies and their host plants. So this original image was a woolly bear caterpillar, which is from the Midwest. There's a old wives' tale about the woolly bear caterpillar where if you see it in the fall, the more brown it has, the worse the winter's supposed to be.
That's nice.
Which was disproved when I saw this woolly bear because it had absolutely no brown and the next winter was pretty brutal. So it was just an old wives' tale.
I see so many reds and greens that I think about mustard yellow in this piece.
The original piece was a woolly bear caterpillar on a sumac leaf. So I wanted to, with this mandala, I wanted to explore the theme of metamorphosis, which is obviously a caterpillar into a butterfly. And so I just, made different layers and different manipulations. This one was probably my longest one. It took me a little bit over 10 hours. And I really tried to capture the essence and the spirit behind metamorphosis. And I think that this piece really does capture that. None of the colors are changed. All of the colors that you see in that piece are in the original image. But what's really fun about creating these mandalas is in the original image, you don't see a lot of greens or purples. You just see the gold color of the caterpillar and the bright red color of the sumac. But then once I started creating the mandala, all these purples and mauves and greens came out. And this piece really does capture the idea and the spirit and the essence behind metamorphosis. And every time you look at it, you may see something different.
And then how many pieces do you make a year or even in a season?
That depends. Usually about 3 or 4 a month. I try and really work on one piece every week. I devote 1 or 2 days every week. I theoretically, I try to devote 1 or 2 days every week on creating a new mandala. It doesn't always work out that way, especially in the summer when I'm at all the art fairs. But in the winter, I get more done.
How is this piece, do you like print it, or do you have it outsourced or mounted? Like how is that done?
All of my mandalas are actually printed on aluminum. I don't do that myself because it's not cost effective, and the printers is extremely large and extremely expensive. So I do send that out, but they do use heat and pressure to adhere the ink right onto the metal. So it will last forever. It won't ever fade. It won't ever peel. You can have it in any environment, indoors, outdoors, high humidity, low humidity, direct sunlight. They'll last longer than we will.
Do you ever give, what's it behind the naming convention of these mandalas? Is it a specific, like an animal, or how do you come up with the names?
Right, the names of them are based on the original image. So this is caterpillar mandala because the original image was a caterpillar.
Please tell me, like, how many hours does it take you or behind a computer to make one piece, or who commissions that?
It takes about 6 to 10 hours per mandala. I do get clients that ask for commissioned pieces. They will send me a photograph and I'll create a mandala just for them. And if they're like working with a designer, they can send me the colors or their color scheme or the subject matter.
Is this a lot of Photoshop for you, or how many years did you start practicing that?
It is all in Photoshop. It's all digital manipulation except for capturing the original image. I had been working in Photoshop for probably about 4 or 5 years before I kind of was playing around and discovered making the mandalas.
Why did you become a fine artist versus an art therapist or even a commercial photographer?
Commercial photography is very competitive. And it's not, I didn't feel I was wanted to do this for the competitive aspect of it. I just kind of wanted to pick up my camera and show people, started out showing people some nature images that they may or may not be able to see. You know, people are going through their lives and their day-to-day process, and so they may not have the time to see things in nature that they normally would be able to see if they weren't so busy with their day-to-day life. So I wanted to be able to share some things, some parts of nature with people. And I also started getting into conservation, and I wanted to be able to share that with people. So I started with nature photography. And then, because that also is a very competitive field, I was trying to find something unique and something that I could make my own. And that's when I discovered and was playing around with making the mandalas.
Have you ever thought or even considered Harrington Design, where they do photography, or the Art Institute, like those programs?
I did at first, but at the point in my life, I didn't really want to start all over with getting another degree. It was just really kind of nice for me just to get the associates and learn as much as I could from a college, and then maybe learn some things on my own independently.
Have you ever thought of becoming an art therapist, or is that in a different field? And
It's a different field. It's an up-and-coming thing right now, and I think it's a really wonderful field. But I just kind of like the creative part of it. And then if maybe an art therapist wants to use some of my mandalas in that field, that'd be great. But right now I just want to stick with creating the mandalas.
And then please tell me, like, what is the story behind your first commission or your first piece of mandala?
My first commission piece was, I was approached by a friend of parents that lost a little boy. He was 2 years old, or almost 2, and he died unexpectedly. And so the friend of the parents asked me if I could create a mandala for them so that they would have something of this little boy, a reminder, a remembrance of him without it being a photorealistic photograph of him. So I did create a mandala of the little boy, and I sent it to my friend, and she really liked it, and she passed it on to the parents. And then I asked the parents, you know, I try to capture the essence of the original image of this little boy. So I asked the friend of the parents to ask them what they saw that reminded them of their little boy, and they said sun rays. And then coincidentally, this was after the mandala was complete. On the outside edge of the mandala, there's different colors that kind of shoot out and look like sun rays. So I thought that was a really important part of capturing little boy's essence.
And then just please tell me, how are you exhibiting in the Art Glen this year?
I
And
am. I will be there.
how competitive is that to win awards, and how the local artists?
I don't know how competitive it is. I mean, you have to be juried into it. I've never been on the judging aspect of the art fair, so I'm not really sure, other than obviously wanting to be unique and good quality and fine art to be in the show. As far as the competitiveness goes, I don't feel competitive there. I think as an artist, you have to find your own unique flair and unique style and brand that so that you have an edge over your competitors. But I think the art at the Glen, there's such a wide variety of art that I don't really feel too much competition. I think people, the patrons that go, have, they either like something or they don't. So they either like my mandalas or they like something better, and that's just the way it is. So I don't feel that that's a competition. It's just if someone likes it, great. If they don't and they like something else better, that's just up to them.
How many years were you in the Art in the Glen?
This will be my second year.
Oh, wow,
Yeah,
that's nice.
so I'm kind of a newbie there, but yeah.
Do you have any plans to travel in early retirement, or would you ever retire?
I don't know. Ideally, that would be nice too, but I really enjoy doing this, and I'm not sure that I would ever not do it. As far as travel, I like to go down to the Gulf Coast of Florida every year and photograph down there, because the wildlife down
nice.
there is
Yeah.
just awesome. There's just such a variety, and the animals are so accustomed to people that you can just, go right up to them and get some really good shots of them. And you always know that there's going to be something there, whether it's a bird or some other sort of animal. And then every couple years, I like to go to the big island of Hawaii and do some landscape shots. Lots of nature there, but a completely different aspect than Florida. Florida's wildlife, birds, insects, dragonflies, things like that, where Hawaii is much more landscape based. There's the volcano and always the big waves and the beautiful coast. And as far as international travel, I don't have any plans right now, but I am looking into maybe doing a photo excursion to Madagascar. I'd like to go,
Nice.
and then African safari,
Yeah.
and then the Lake District of Italy, which is Lake
that's
Como and Lake
beautiful.
Maggiore. Yeah, that would be great to go there.
Do you have any advice for any seniors or high schoolers, even people in graduate school trying to compete in this field?
I think for any art, it's very competitive, whether it's photography or painting or digital art. The best thing that I would say is to always, always, always learn. Never feel like you can never stop learning, and find a uniqueness and a flair, and make that your own and develop that and keep working at it. Never be afraid to experiment, and just to keep pushing yourself to be unique, and then brand yourself with that uniqueness.
What was your first bachelor's? Like, do you ever miss going to university instead of at college, or do you miss that environment, health science?
I do.
You do.
I really liked microbiology. It's a field where you either love it or hate it, and most people hate it. I loved it. Sometimes I think about going back, but I really like what I do now. But I do miss it, and I really did enjoy it.
Where did you originally have your bachelor's from?
Governor State University.
Oh, Governor State. Wow.
In the middle of cornfields, in the middle of nowhere.
Did you want to go U of I, or?
I did, but I didn't realize when, for a med tech program, it's usually you go for 2 or 3 years of getting your general education and science courses done, and then the last either 1 year or 2 years is concentrated solely in clinical laboratory sciences. Well, I didn't realize at U of I that the application to get in for the fall was the previous year, the deadline. It's always a year in advance.
Yeah.
So I missed the deadline to apply to University of Illinois, and I didn't want to wait a whole year to apply again. So I applied at Governor State and got in there.
What are your plans with your son? Your son is in the Air Force?
He was in the Air Force, yes. He's out in Denver. He joined the Air Force and got stationed out there and left the Air Force, and he's like, you know, this is Colorado. He's like, I can't move back to Illinois, so he stayed out there.
Do you have any family that had been a veteran or any
My dad was a
military?
Korean War vet. My stepfather was a World War II vet.
Oh, that is nice.
Yes. So a long history of military service.
And where do you
Family.
currently live?
I live in a little town called Campton Hills. It's west of St. Charles. Very small, rural community of about 10,000.
Wow. So how long do you commute for art fairs, or do you travel for your artwork?
I do. Do different art fairs every weekend. I think the closest one is like 45 minutes away, but they're usually an hour, hour and a half away. And then I'll be doing one in Milwaukee, and then this summer also one in Michigan.
How did you experience, just like the town of Glenview and the natural resources, and having galleries and open jury at the art in the Glen? How did you like those people?
I loved the art at the Glen. I liked the people. The patrons were very engaging. They like art. They appreciate art. They had a lot of questions. They seemed to like my mandalas. I had a really good experience there.
Have you ever thought of going to yoga or natural health sciences, or like doing anything for the alternative medicine, and just incorporating the hobby into?
I hope that part of the mandala appeal would be for people that do yoga, meditate. There is an aspect of mandalas that would fit into that community. As far as myself going into it, I like to practice yoga, and I'm trying to learn meditation. It's a process, but I find that sort of energy and healing, I think, is very healthy and leads to a good lifestyle.
And how many hours a day do you spend behind a computer?
Oh, a lot, a lot. Probably Monday through Friday, I'd say at least 4 to 6 hours, if not more. That's the least, at least 4 hours a day.
And do you have any plans for incorporating your endeavors for your family, or more travel, or more landscape or natural art into your mandalas, or personal commissions on people and facial portraits?
I like doing portraits because I think it's really fun to take that original image of a person and manipulate it and still keep the essence of that person, but then have a portrait that's more abstract, so that when you're looking at the mandala, you see the essence of the person, and you see more creativity besides just looking at a plain photograph.
Where can people find your artwork? The internet, or stop by your studio? And
I have a website. It's zwierdigitalarts.com, and all of my pieces are on the website, and you can order them through the website if you want. Plus, I'm also at different art fairs throughout the suburbs this summer, and on my website is all the list of all the art fairs that I'm
great.
at.
Thank you, Maureen, for this wonderful, creative, informational talk.
Thank you very much for having me.
And thank you again for watching Real People, Real Matters with Diana Tulchinsky.